Since we had an opportunity to talk, there's been a number of things that have occurred within the Department of Homeland Security, but one thing that really caught my attention is the discussion of a policy that would in fact separate mothers from their children at the border. How much time have you spent in the Triangle countries in Central America?
Very little other than vacations, no official duty.
Would you agree that the conditions on the ground in those countries are dire and dangerous for families?
I have heard that, yes, from people I have met from those countries.
Yeah. In fact, we know that the murder rates per capita are the highest in these countries, especially El Salvador. Many of the people who are migrating, many of the people who are on the move are in fact escaping very, very desperate conditions, and it's not just economic migration, it's migration to get away from the terror. You know, obviously these folks, there's been a UN project to take a look at refugeeing in place, whether it's in Costa Rica, Belize, southern Mexico, Nicaragua. There's been a lot of discussion about how we deal with the crisis in Central America, which obviously is having an effect. But how do we deal with the visual of a Border Patrol agent taking a baby away from a mother at the border?
That is a bad visual. I think what we do is we go to two underlying areas. One is we have to separate adults from children potentially because of threats we've heard against children. And also we have to address the fact of how dangerous it is to illegally immigrate into the country. And I think that the reference you're making to separating mothers and children, or adults and children, was one thing that Secretary Kelly said is a possibility to help address this threat against children who are illegally migrating.
So the strategy is not to figure out how through the State Department we can effectuate support for refugees in place, which would be my preference, that people stay in the community as we work with these countries to stabilize their economies and stabilize their security. So it's not our problem, and the solution is to take babies away from mothers.
No,
that's
absolutely.
the best solution we have in the United States of America to deal with this crisis.
No, it is not. Absolutely. Secretary Kelly and I have had short discussions, but are committed to looking at both what we call the push effect and the pull effect. And the push effect would be the areas you're talking about, Senator, of fleeing violence. They're leaving for a reason. And we are committed with the other appropriate agencies to looking at both sides.
Well, I can tell you that for every mother who would be seeing someone seeking asylum in this country, fleeing from rape, murder, and potential destruction of her family, it's not a very, very humanitarian way to deal with this crisis. And I think there are other ways, and I think that the threat of taking mothers away from children may in fact provide a deterrence. I get that. But it doesn't solve the problem in our hemisphere. And if we don't deal with the problem in our hemisphere, we will continue to have disruption, and that disruption will continue to find a place for a criminal element in our country. Agreed. And so I just want to wage my strong opposition to taking babies away from their mothers. Yes.